Welcome to the Dr. Stacy Show, where we're talking about all things faith, love, and wellness as it relates to raising our kids. I'm your host, Dr. Stacy, and I am super excited today to have with us Tabitha DeGrave. Tabitha is currently Miss Fort Lauderdale International. She's a mom of five and a community alliance lead with the TSC Alliance. She has a platform called Reliance Through Caregiving, supporting families navigating medical diagnosis. And Tabitha is deeply involved in helping children with medical needs and their families, including those with autism and TSC. She has decided to help families by also becoming an author and creating a children's series of books focused on helping children to feel brave in medical settings. Help me welcome today Tabitha. Tabitha, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Tabitha, I always love this because I love that you have the sash on, right? So congratulations, right? And I know someone's saying, what, a mom of five just is Miss Fort Lauderdale International. I love it, right? So we're never, it's never too late to even pursue things.
Never.
Do.
Yes.
I love it. But a big part of your why today, and talk to us a little bit about your journey, your story, and what you have found as a family of five and the medical challenges that you guys have faced as a family.
My daughter, she was diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis complex at just 2 years old. And it kind of throws into that like medical world where you don't really want to be a part of, and you become a part of it. And, it was a diagnosis that I had never even heard of before. So now like I'm mom to, I had 4 kids at the time. So I'm mom to 4. Balancing just that alone is rough. Now we're a researcher because now I don't have any idea what this condition is. I'm an advocate. I'm a caregiver. Like medicines, all these things are just like thrown onto you in like the next day. So it's really, she was the reason we're here because I remember just the confusion, the loneliness, everything that our family went through. And if we can help another family kind of avoid that, then, our goal is met.
Yes. Now you had shared, we were talking pre-show, like she was 2 years old when all of this kind of happened. Talk to us a little bit about that journey and what kind of happened when she was 2.
So perfectly normal, you're meeting all your milestones. She was walking earlier than all my other kids. And I attributed that to like having 3 older siblings. And out of nowhere, she just starts having these seizures. And it wasn't even your normal like tonic-clonic seizure. She's having drop seizures where her whole body goes limp. She loses consciousness. And we just didn't know, like even the first time she had her first seizure, I was like, was that a seizure? I had no idea. And then over a period of just 10 days, she kept having seizures, and her doctor was like, this is a perfectly healthy kid. Like, what is going on? By the time she had her last seizure, we were admitted to the hospital, and they didn't want us to leave because of how bad it was getting. So they admitted us. And within that week of the hospital stay, they had let us know that she had tuberous sclerosis complex. She now had a neurologist, a nephrologist, a geneticist, all these specialists. And, it was just from one day to the next, our world was turned upside down.
Mm-hmm. And she's 9 now, right?
She's 9 now, yes.
What has that journey kind of looked like from a medical perspective for her?
I always tell people, she's the bravest kid I know. And when we go to the doctors, her doctors are always like, she did so well. I hear that so often. She's, her tests, her scans, whatever it is that she's doing, she is so well at. And I'm just like, because has so many doctors. Mm-hmm. Right now, we have a team of 13 specialists that she sees.
Wow.
And we're still adding more because we have more complications that are now arising. Mm-hmm. So she's just gone through so much at such a young age, but she's so brave, and she takes it better than, most adults I know.
Well, even I'm thinking, I'm like, man, just a team of 13, like that's a lot to navigate. And even
It
for a
is.
child to be like, wait a minute, which doctor am I going to today?
She doesn't even like, at this point, she's like, all right, we're going. Like,
Mhm.
she knows she has her favorite doctors, which is awesome. And I
Oh,
would not trade them for like anything. If they leave, we leave. Like,
all right.
we're going with them. It's so rare to find like such an amazing doctor and a team of
Mhm.
doctors. And we have been really lucky because she does have so many.
Yeah.
Um, we've just, I tell patients all the time, or patients, friends, and people that come to me. And I was like, if you can get a doctor that you love, just stay
Mhm.
with them. But if
Yeah.
you don't agree, like if there's something feeling off, you have every right to go and like get a second opinion.
Yeah. And some parent needed to hear that because, right, we struggle with this is the person that's leading the treatment, but
Yeah.
right, relationship piece, and especially for your precious child, right? Like that's huge to have even your children feel like, hey, I'm excited to go to the doctors because children
Yeah.
should feel excited, not
They
scared.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like one of the reasons I wrote the second book, because I want kids to like not be scared of the doctor. It's such a common theme when kids talk to me
Yes.
about going and they're like, no, it's
Mhm.
scary. They're really there to help you. And if I can like get them through that stigma of like doctors are scary to doctors are fun and they're going to help me, then, that's a win-win right there.
So it's so funny, Tabitha, as a mental health therapist, even though I'm a counseling psychologist, so I can be called Dr. Stacy. It's funny. I say to the kids the first thing, I'm not a doctor that gives shots. I'm a talking doctor, right? Because that's the thing too, right? The kids are like, Dr. Stacy. And I'm like, no, I don't give shots. I promise. No band-aids here. There's a
Right.
box. I have a prize box, but no band-aids. Well, tell us a little bit, because then you had another child with a different diagnosis, your
Yeah.
fifth child.
My
Tell us a little
fifth,
bit about that. Mm-hmm.
she was my COVID baby.
Mhm.
So she's 5. She was born in 2020. And a lot of the things, like she just got her autism diagnosis this year, and we only suspected her to have it last year.
Mm.
So a lot of the things that comes with autism, I was kind of excusing away because we had gone through COVID with her. So like
Mm.
she was speech delayed. And
Right.
that's like one of the big signs for autism is delaying speech. But, going through autism, I was like, or going through COVID, I'm like, people
Mhm.
were wearing masks. She couldn't see their face.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then her autism is very social. So she's not very social at all. And again, I attributed that we were home. We didn't do the things
Mhm.
that we would normally do. So her diagnosis was later than usual, but it was again me being like, there's an excuse, there's a reason why she's like this, to the point where I could no longer
Mm.
excuse it. Like, now she's almost 5. This isn't like, I've had 4 other kids. This isn't
Yeah.
normal. So then I started like really paying attention to what she was doing and how she was acting and, brought it up with her doctor, and her doctor agreed, like, these are signs of autism. But again, we had an excuse. At least I had an excuse.
Yeah. Well, and Tabitha, what were some of those signs that you were seeing? Because I think one of the things we look at with autism diagnosis, especially for girls, is it tends to be later.
Yeah.
Because, right, we do that. We attribute, oh, they're just quiet because it's a girl. They're just, kind of to themselves. And with a boy, it's like we kind of notice even the speech piece, like you said, COVID,
Yeah.
because that is what we're seeing, even with our COVID babies, that the masks did impact communication and their
Hmm.
ability to process information. But what were some of those signs that you guys began to see?
Besides speech, she was delayed. She didn't really start talking until after she turned 2.
Mm.
Um, Other than that, like the social piece, she would not leave me, even like in settings where there's tons of other kids playing. She wouldn't leave. She
Mm.
was not talking to anybody. When people would try to talk to her, she would look at them. She has like sensory things. So water in her face was a huge
Mhm.
issue. And even when she was showering, if water got on her face, it was an issue and she would have to get out, dry her face, and come back in the shower. So like things like that and the loud noises.
Mm.
And like part of that was like, I No, my other kids, the loud noises like in the bathroom, the dryers would bother them, but they grew out of it. She
Mhm.
was still sitting there like covering her ears. So things like that, that I was like, you should have probably grown out of this by now.
Yes.
And like the sensory things were just getting worse.
Mhm.
So that then I was like, we should probably talk to somebody.
Yeah, no. And I'm glad that you shared that because some people still struggle, right, with that moment of we see it, but then right,
Mhm.
when do we get help? And so
Right.
I always encourage families, if you see it and you're thinking in your gut something's off, it's just better to go get an evaluation, right? Even if they say, hey, nope, it's everything's okay, at least you have an understanding. And even with autism, it gives us the understanding that everything is okay. We're autistic, right? Like that gives us even that ability to have that diagnosis. And so, from your family experiences, then it turned into this book. You've got a series of books. Most people don't sit down and be like, oh, the things I've gone through, now let me write a book. Tell us about your children's books.
So my books really started for my daughter Victoria that has the TSC. We read books every year at her school to kind of help the kids understand because she's different. Because even though she looks the same, her body doesn't work the same as her friends.
Mm.
So I really like try to make it inclusive and have them ask questions. But the last couple years, we kind of read the same book. And she's like, I don't want to read the same book again. And there's not a lot of books for kids with her condition out there that we haven't already bought or read. So I started writing her a book last summer because she had gone through a huge medical journey. It was just full of downs, and I wanted to show her that how brave she is and everything that she's gone through in one little book that she can read, and read it to her friends. And that's how it started. So it was really for her, a gift for her to just show her like just how far she's come.
Hmm. I love that. I'm thinking like that's how Harry Potter started, right? Like it was a mom writing a book for their child, right?
It
So
was, yeah.
Tabitha could be doing great things. So tell us the titles of both of the books in your series.
So they're called Tori's Story. They are after her. The first one is called A Girl with a Brave Heart, which that one is about her medical journey and about with kids that have TSC. The second one is called Tori's Story, The Brave Doctor's Visit. As I was reading to kids, that's what their common thing was. They're scared, they're scared, they're scared. And I just was trying to break that stigma for them that doctors are scary.
Mhm.
And then right now we're actually in the works of a third book, and it will involve my youngest daughter and, more inclusive and how we can all be different, but
Yeah.
have like similarities.
Oh, I love it. I love it because that's the other thing. Even when we talk about like having books that children can grab that relate to them, and
Mhm.
that's huge. Whether it's medical, whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's just right, our family looks different, and that's okay, right? Like
Yeah.
we all have differences, which is great. Um, and I know there's a mom that's listening. First of all, like, whoa, you're balancing 5 kids. Right? And I know they're 18 through 5, right? We talked about
Yes.
the ages, which is awesome. But talk to us a little bit about things that you had to learn as a mom navigating like medical systems, like how do you stay grounded? Talk to us a little bit even about your journey as the parents kind of navigating this process.
You really have to learn to advocate and not be scared to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't feel right, as a parent, you have to trust your gut. And I tell everyone, I'm like, you may have a team, like we have a team of 13, but I know my daughter the best.
Mm-hmm.
So my opinion and what I'm telling the doctors are going to weigh the most if something doesn't feel right for us. So you really have to trust your instinct. And I think that's what I tell all parents. Like if something doesn't feel right, that's what I've learned. Like before, when you're thrown into this journey, you're kind of just listening to the doctors because you have no idea what to do. But over time, you learn more, you grow, and that's what like was for me. Like I started navigating. I come from a health background,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't like so hard, but for parents that don't, like you're just thrown in and you really have to like really trust your instincts.
Yeah. And I think that, advocating, people get nervous, even in schools, for example,
Yep.
advocating for their children. So I could just imagine in medical spaces where you're feeling not just not prepared, but it's a lot of information, right? A lot of new terminology coming at
Yeah.
in those moments. Like, because for me, today was the first time I've learned about this diagnosis,
Yep.
right? And so even the idea of saying, just sitting as a parent, I could imagine feeling sometimes defeated, overwhelmed, and just like, this is a lot. But then
Yeah.
hear you say, hey, listen, there's a process and you can get through this. And on the other side,
Right.
right?
You'll get there. It does take time and, you know, energy to learn how you feel
Mhm.
and trust that. But once you're there, like it makes advocating in school so much easier. I have
Mhm.
3 kids with an IEP. So
Mhm.
it's, you know, what we have to, I have to go in there because they're not there to stand up for themselves. So I have to make sure they're getting everything they need. And you
Mhm.
can't be scared. Like you really can't be scared of what they're going to say.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you just said even with the other siblings, I'm thinking, how did the older kids kind of respond? And what have you had to do as a family to kind of wrap around them, even as their younger siblings have been going through things?
I really have to make sure everyone kind of has their time.
Mm.
So, you know, my kids that play sports, it's showing up for their sporting events. If they're getting an award at school, it's making sure I'm there for that too. So it's really making sure that they see me coming to their things as much as I'm going to like the medical stuff.
Yeah, because I know with siblings, we always hear, I mean, in my space as a mental health therapist, I'm always working with the child that's going through the diagnoses and then the siblings as well in the family system because, right, then you have those kids saying, hey, what about me?
Right.
And it's not that you want to be going to 4 and 5 doctor's appointments this week for their brother or sister. Like that is not how you want to spend your week. You'd rather be, sometimes at the soccer field, but that is the cards that were dealt and how to manage that. And I love that you said even the fact of an IEP for medical reasons, because some people aren't even aware that medical conditions would
Mhm.
also warrant an IEP.
Yeah. We have like my daughter, she didn't need an IEP at first. She needed a 504 plan
Mhm.
because of her medical stuff. So it started off as just a medical condition, you know,
Mhm.
making sure her school is aware because she has seizures, what a plan in action, making sure she has water and things that she needs just on the medical side. And then it eventually developed into an IEP once we saw some regression.
Mhm. And yeah, no, and I love that, the schools, again, some parent is like, oh, I didn't even know I could have a 504.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Because one of the things that we talk about, if the medical condition impacts their ability to function, right? And
Mhm.
learning is a function. And so looking at how does it show up in school? And if it's impacting, it's not that they just like, even with autism, it's not that just they have the condition, but how does it
Right.
impact their learning? So I love that you shared that process, that even that it went to an IEP because we saw how it was impacting the ability to learn.
Right.
So parents, I'm just saying.
You have options.
Right, right. And medically, sometimes we don't think of it the same as a disability. Like a lot of people, ADHD, and I always tell people it's a medical condition. Like we have to
Mhm.
remember that, right? Even autism, we have a medical diagnosis for autism, and so
Yep.
looking at the fact of if it's impacting learning, how do we put plans in place and advocate with our school? To be able to do that. And speaking of schools, you do something that's pretty great too, because you have shared these books with other students. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I go around to our local school, elementary schools, and read my books from K through third grade. And it's so great because I get to teach the kids about, you know, some of their friends may be different and you may never know. I know some parents don't want to have their kids' diagnosis be known.
Mm.
So they can still, you know, have that normalcy in school. So teaching them about it and they get to tell me about like times that they're brave and, you know, sometimes they're like, I had a seizure before. And they get to tell me these things and none of their friends would ever even know, but it's an open dialect and kids are so resilient and they take it so great. And I remember like the first time I read at my daughter's school, the last little boy, he was like, you know, even though Victoria has all these things, she's still a really awesome person. And that was like my goal, is just to make sure like kids are still understanding, your friends are still
Mhm.
great.
No, I love that. And kudos to him.
I know. I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry.
Listen, because that's what we want, right? When we think about even the conversations and having conversations like this, the goal is to say, hey, listen, folks, our kids come with differences and that's okay. And how they're built and designed, let's all, but even for the littles to see that, right? That's the cool
Right.
part too. To
I
say
love
she's,
it.
she's super cool. I love that. and and so thinking about if and the medical side of it has its needs too. It sounds like the educational side. How has socially this impacted your daughter, for example, having medical kind of diagnoses? And have you seen that kind of be in impacting her social wellness?
We really tried to get her to do as many things as she wants to do, and she can, but she's having seizures, she's tired. She doesn't really want to play. And her friends are, well, her friends will come over and I'm like, sorry, she can't play today. So it has prevented her from doing certain things because of just the response to when she has certain episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But even like I have family on the West Coast and we're supposed to, go see them. But right now her seizures aren't under control. So flying and traveling for 9 hours isn't realistic for us right now,
Mm-hmm.
because what if something were to happen?
Yeah.
But we're going to make it up to her by going to see family that's closer. So it's, even though like we're not doing our normal, we're still able to give her certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we always try to do. We try to just make sure if she wants to do something, and we can give it to her, we're going to do it, because we don't want her to ever feel like she's different or less than.
Right. No. And that's really key too, because that social piece, right? Because the physical and the medical still will impact her. And right, and having seizures, I mean, when you think about right, the traveling like 9 hours, like the things that families may have to consider, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that you're making accommodations and saying, but we'll visit family close because that's good, or family can come see us one day, right? Like those
Yeah.
are the things. And that she's not missing out because of the medical. I
Yeah.
sometimes just kind of like put the kids in a bubble and I'm like, okay, we can't
Oh,
bubble wrap them.
I tell her all the time, I was like, we're going to watch Bubble Boy and that's going to be you, because I can't
Yes.
take it anymore sometimes.
Well, and that's a good thing for people to say too. Like you said, we're still going to allow you to try things that you want to try. We
Right.
still have to live life. We still have to
100%.
childhood, right? And
Right.
that's that part too, to say medical conditions. And I've worked with families. I've had hockey players that would still be playing hockey and have seizures and have to be pulled off to the side, and it's really tough,
It
but
is.
the kids also want to be kids.
Right. It's when you're that parent, it's really like a fine line. Like we have to
Mhm.
choose when they have like these medical issues. I
Mhm.
can't keep her in a bubble and I
Yeah.
can't keep her like secluded as much as I want to.
Mhm.
She still has to have like experiences. And because her condition has like so many unknowns for like the future, I want to
Mhm.
be able for her to do as much as she can. And if it were to ever impact her more, then, she's lived some.
Yeah. No, I love that. So, what would be, Tabitha, your kind of final thought to maybe a parent that's listening? Maybe they're having a kid that they just got diagnosed and they're struggling. What would be kind of your final thought or encouragement to that parent?
I would let them know you're not alone. There is a whole village of people out there. And by joining groups with other moms, like I tell everyone, if you can find a Facebook group with
Yes.
other parents that have kids in the same boat, you will feel so much less alone versus just trying to do it by yourself.
No, that's great because we definitely need community for sure. All
It
right, so
is.
Tabitha, before you go, I always have my guests humor me in our Laffy Taffy joke of the day.
Okay.
Okay.
I have
So
5 kids, so I might have heard this
you might,
one.
You might get it, right? So Proverbs 17:22 says, a joyful heart is good medicine. So here's our Laffy Taffy joke of the day. What is smarter than a talking bird?
Oh, I haven't heard this one.
What is smarter than a talking bird?
I would say a talking kid, but
Oh, I like that. Good try. Okay, a spelling bee.
ah, I'm gonna have to tell that to my kids today.
It's so cute. I love Laffy
I
Taffy.
love those. I love this. I am the like dad jokes. I'm all about them.
No, I love it. And with 5 kids for sure, right? I love it. So tell our listeners, how can they get in touch with you? How can they get your books? If they're in the area and they want you to come to their school, how can they get in touch with you?
So my social media, Instagram is my name at Tabitha DeGrave. And you can find all of my books, including 2 other ones on Amazon under Tori's Story, or you can search my name and there's under the author too.
I love it. Great. Well, folks, before we go, it's our Love Our Babies Well segment. And today we really talked about that sense of community in the midst of. And one thing I love that Tabitha had said was that even the idea of turning pain into purpose and finding your community impact. Sometimes we feel like these moments we're alone. And even as she said, finding a Facebook group, finding a sense of community, but also finding your purpose. Tabitha turned her family's story into a moment to impact and encourage others. And so, folks, I encourage you to do the same. Thanks so much for tuning in today to the Dr. Stacy Show. Until next time, keep the faith, love our babies, and pursue wellness.